Your characters are falling in love. First comes love, and then comes marriage. Then comes relentless desires for a love triangle with the sexy evil guy and his loner nemesis. Then comes a whole chapter that has nothing to do with your plot.
Hmm.
Grow up. Attack on table.
Well, I would love to welcome Hollis back onto the show. She was a great guest the first time and in our interview. We'd love to have her on multiple times. We're going to talk about bad romance, writing it incorrectly, writing it poorly, inserting it where it doesn't belong. Hollis, during our...
Like a Lady Gaga song.
Yeah, it's in my head, dude. I'm just like, rah, 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 rah. That's where I am right now.
When we talked last, Sean has a paraphrase of something. Maybe you can paraphrase it for me more. If your story can exist without the romance, then the romance either doesn't belong or shouldn't have the spotlight in your story.
Yeah, that's true. I do believe that, and I love romantic subplots. And in most of my books, the romantic subplot is not necessary. But it doesn't have the spotlight, and it does enrich the story. At least that's what my readers and editors tell me. So, woo! But I think that that's the important clue. And I include it because I'm a bit of a romantic and I enjoy writing romance. I enjoy writing about feelings and that kind of thing. And showing different sorts of relationships. But it can deepen the experience emotionally for your reader, or your reader can just be sitting there going, I don't care if they get together. I don't care. I don't care. And you do have to make people want to read about it. And so if you're getting into something that just is boring and tedious for the reader to switch to, and it doesn't actually enrich the plot, then chuck it out of your work.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of authors probably try to include romance in their storylines just to make it appeal to a wider audience, but the problem is if your romance isn't central to your story, but you do give it too much spotlight, you're going to bore the people who are your actual audience for the type of book you're writing, and the romance readers that you're trying to bring in, they're not going to make it far enough into your book to see the romance. And there's a place and a time for stuff like that where it can build on and enrich the story. But I just as an example, like if you're writing a Western of two Scruffy McGee sheriffs arguing about a county line, there probably doesn't need to be any romance in there.
No.
But if there were, imagine how exciting that would be.
Well, and in that case, honestly, the first thing that occurred to me with that particular scenario is I wouldn't put romance, but I would put one of the sheriffs trying to seduce the other one's wife just for the hell of it
Ooh, yeah.
And it's not about romance, it's about revenge.
Yeah, that's pettiness.
That's
Yeah, right?
fantasy.
That's a bad. He's the bad sheriff.
Yeah.
Or is he the good one? You know,
I think
No.
it just makes the world go round. That's politics.
maybe that guy's bad to his wife, and we don't know the story between these guys. They have a whole history.
Yeah.
Why don't you write it?
I will, and it will be a #1 bestseller. I think my problem with romance in particularly non-romance genres is when, and I'm not trying to knock a romance writer for attempting to branch out. I'm not doing that at all. I do think that romance writers tend to lean on their experience as writing romance in a genre format and then start applying that in other genres, and I don't think it translates very well for them. I think it hinges too much. It creates like emotional pockets, exaggerated and distracting emotional pockets. I think it causes them to put too much emphasis on things that wouldn't, outside of the genre of romance, wouldn't really benefit them. Good example, I was helping this one writer who was doing just that, a romance writer. They were moving into that, and she's writing the scene where it's like this guy, this thief, this dangerous entity is like broken into a castle, and the woman that's there is like a librarian, should be frightened, scared out of her life, and that's what the scene is intending. But this woman like can't help but like look into this thief's eyes and is like describing the colors and the emotions she's feeling, and I'm like, that is stealing from the scene so much. Right. I was like, unless they're gonna, this is starting to feel like the beginning of a little bit.
Yeah, like, so, hey, the pizza man's here, but I don't have tip money. Like, that is that is the equivalent right there.
Yeah. It's so it can distract, it can pull away, because other genres don't do that, because they're looking for other things to focus on, like the plot and pieces of intrigue and character development.
And that's a really good example, because you could still have that eye contact and stuff, but it needs to be reframed. Like, she could be looking and she'd be like, could tell from the look in his eyes that they were dark and seemed inhuman in a way. And like, she could reframe it into viewing him as a monster instead of another human being. And you can still have intensity without romance. Yeah.
And definitely don't describe the pools of his eyes.
The limpid pools that she wants to dive into and get lost in.
While he robs her. None of this is to shame romance in stories. It's really just to get you to question, does it belong, or does it belong in the spotlight? There's nothing wrong with the romance genre. There's nothing wrong with people adding romance to their stories. But I feel like it, just like in Ryan's example, it might find itself somewhere where it shouldn't be if you're blending genres there. And I feel like that's a risky move to make, because you lose hold of what you're trying to actually achieve with your scene.
Yeah.
And you can also derail what the story you're trying to tell, because if by the nature in that implication, if you're doing that throughout the entire story, the readers are going to be looking for some kind of romance that very likely will not happen, because you're not intending for it to happen. But the way you're writing, the word choice you're using, the things you're pulling focus to, the reader's expecting it, and then they're going to have a bad taste in their mouth. They're like, I feel like I got teased the entire time and nothing came of it.
The hell do you mean that the thief and the castle maiden didn't get married? No stars.
Readers can be very prickly, and if they feel like they're not getting some kind of reward for the effort of reading, then they will put the book down.
Yeah. Well, and that goes back to genre. Like, what you're categorizing your book as is very important. So if you are writing in the romance genre, then, and that's your intention, assalamu alaikum, man, have some fun. Like, do you have fun? And that works, because your readers are anticipating that sort of thing in the book. They are fully anticipating the romance to be the plot, and that all that other side stuff with like thievery and whatever, that's just something to add some romantic tension so they have excuses to go make out in a dark alley or something. Like, that's what that is. But if you are writing, if your intention is to write a murder mystery or an epic fantasy, then the romance portion really genuinely does have to enrich the plot. Because if it doesn't, it's a very awkward little square peg trying to fit into the round hole. And that's just, the readers it will take them out of the story when they encounter the awkwardness, and then they might not even finish your book. Like you said, they might just put it down because it's weird.
Oh
Yeah, well, I mean, readers do that for like if they just feel like promises aren't being met for any regard, whether it's romance or not. Like if you're writing a certain way and you have some crazy plot twist that's going to upend your narrative halfway through the book, by the time they get there, if the people that wanted the first half, when they reach that crux, they're going to put your book down because they now know this is what they wanted and they're no longer going to get that for the rest of the story. Or the people that wanted this part aren't going to get through this part, and so they'll just put it down immediately. So you have to kind of whatever you're setting the tone for, you have to kind of follow throughout the length of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, bring us into the common advice, because there is like a name for a certain rule and everything.
A rule that makes no sense. So in common advice, for those that don't know, Sean and I look up common advice and see if we agree with it or not. And the first one was, I don't know if Hollis, have you ever heard of the 25% rule?
Oh, I have heard of it. I don't remember the exacting of it, but I think, yeah, go ahead.
So I don't know if we can equate this to AI or just bad math skills, but the 25% rule, according to the internet, is subplots that never occupy more than 1/3 of your plot.
Wouldn't that be 1/4?
Yeah,
It would be.
but it said 1/3.
Yep.
Wow.
So in literature, 1/3 equals 25%.
Yeah.
And that's why there's different rules to follow than in the real world. Because math
we live
is
in a
different.
world of fiction. Math has no place here.
Yeah.
It's all
2
fiction.
+ 2 is 5.
Yeah. So yeah, but the idea is to at least keep it to less than majority point of your story.
25% in literature is 49% or less in the real world.
Yeah, just keep it down. Just down. Chill, everybody.
I agree. I think like if I were to point at something outside of books and just be like, we'll say like the romance between Leia and Han is very undersold, but because you know that they like each other, anytime there's these moments of like she's in danger, he's in danger, it adds just a little bit more oomph to it because you know that there's someone that cares about that other person. They didn't even have like a full-blown romance or nothing.
No, they have their moments, and of course, they're ending up together. But it was very well done in the Star Wars trilogy, the Han and Leia, because it wasn't the point of the story. It was a subplot.
But it was it was tangible enough for you to have more versatility in different angles of the story, and that's really what you should be looking for, hoping for.
Well, and it also exaggerated certain character traits in the involved characters. Even Luke, because of course, before he found out Leia was his sister, he liked her. So it shows you
he did more than like her.
Yeah.
We don't need to get into that, Sean.
Yeah, we're gonna but it shows it gives you a vehicle to expose certain characteristics of your characters that wouldn't come out otherwise, because we all behave differently in different relationships.
Right.
So I think that is a great example of how romantic subplots can really enrich your story, is by showing how behavior changes between how this character interacts with their best friend versus somebody they're romantically interested in, versus a shopkeeper.
Yeah, because if you're both interested in the same person and then one person's even giving like tacit advice, like, can you trust that? Like, are they trying to bury you? Or, like, you don't know. You can't, it kind of changes the way your friendship dynamic can work.
It changes yeah.
Okay. But it also really helps to drive the story, as you, like what Hollis said, like you get to learn the characters in a different light, in a fuller light, and then, but it all contributes to the story. The next bit of advice there was, pay attention to your priorities and everything. You don't halt your 30-day quest so that your two characters that fell in love, sure, the world might end, but they got a really good deal at this all-inclusive resort where they can go and just spend some time together. Nobody wants to read about that.
Mm-mm.
The world is ending. You have
Yeah.
to fix that.
Yeah.
And that, I feel like, is the crux of the matter, where people are trying to kind of avoid with cramming romance into a story where romance doesn't really belong.
A lot of people only focus on one type of romantic relationship, and by that I mean the beginnings of a romance, the start of a relationship. And as somebody who's been married for a few years and things like that, I enjoy reading about the beginnings of relationships too, but there is so much more to a relationship that still has a lot of romance and conflict, definitely conflict that comes later down the road. And I enjoy writing about it. Like, I do have the beginnings of romances in my books, but a lot of the subplots, a lot of my characters are married. They're together and they are continuing with adventures and having marital spats in between and having to resolve things much, like different ways and things like that. And it's still romantic because they love each other, but in a more established way, which is still super romantic, but it's very different from the romance you're putting out in the start.
Hmm.
I'm also a fan of like the one-sided relationship. I think it was like a bold move, especially at the time and the day and age in which Tolkien wrote Lord of the Rings, for that, like that with Éowyn and Aragorn, where it's like, she saw this man and just like head over heels, and then he's just like, no, like I definitely love someone else. I'm in love with someone else.
But he was still very kind to her.
And what didn't put her down and like didn't write her off as like she's just some like, lonely woman or anything like that. She had this spark. She saw this very inspiring man, and she couldn't have him. And he was very gentle in his, rebuff of her. And I think that's a unique kind of thing you don't encounter very often, not in literature or mediums in general. Generally,
no, you encounter it all the time in real life, which
you do.
Yeah. We all have had that exact example where we were really crushing on someone, especially in our teenage years, but they were just not interested in us. And whether or not
bless your heart.
But yeah, like we've all been there.
Ryan was searching for a spouse in like the deep south of Georgia, apparently. Oh, bless your heart.
Yeah. Well, often when those characters are written, like the person that the person that's on a one-sided romance there, they're often like written as being like weird or like an outcast, or like, they're silently shunned or something like that. And I really respect the way that was handled in Lord of the Rings. It's just like, you're a great
respected
person,
that as soon as she got to Gondor, she saw Faramir.
Oh,
poor Faramir, always chosen second.
Hey, Faramir though is probably my favorite character. Oh, besides Samwise Gamgee. Okay, I love Faramir in the books, and I love Samwise Gamgee two pieces. But yeah. So Faramir is a solid choice.
Deserved better throughout that entire story. His dad, it's like, no, he's definitely dead. Set us on fire.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
well, Daddy Issues is a different Attack on Table episode.
Yeah. You're right. I need to focus up.
Write that one down, though. That's a good one.
Back that up. The next one is our favorite, Sean. The show don't tell. The
Share Dom Tom.
Yes.
Tell less, show more, I guess. I agree with this 100%. I think it should be that way in romance, in the genre itself. I feel like there's way too much telling of emotional sparks, and there's too much being said in the background, and you're leaving a lot on the table to just show us things.
Yeah. Well,
I don't feel like there's a lot of agreements on this panel. I cold.
Agree with you.
No,
but here's it. You're right, but also there's a balance, because like as a writer, when I'm writing like the moment where they're like, oh my God, you know, like our hands touched, you know, whatever. I tend to write the physical reaction within the character rather than and then I was so surprised and no. I tend to write like the, you know, it felt like a spark and their heart wildly beat for, you know, a half a second and they looked around and they didn't know what to do or how to do it and they were like so confused, but their whole body like came alive in that instant because it was really exciting.
And to me, that's showing. That's showing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the point. But like you can still so just sort of I guess shift the focus because the physical reaction is actually more evocative than explaining the emotional reaction and is more connected to the reader because everybody sort of has a different way that they think they feel or might explain how they feel, but the physical reactions are kind of universal. So if you are speaking on the physical with the getting warm in the face and that kind of thing, then someone might feel very embarrassed about it. Somebody might feel excited about that or whatever. But if you just say they got really warm in the face, then that allows the reader to personally and intimately connect with the character in that moment, as opposed to going, well, I don't feel embarrassed. So it's a very, you know, I think, yes, so you're correct, but it's like, it's that kind of thing to give an example. And I think a lot of writers get lost in the other direction.
I think that the telling aspect of that should be reserved for like when you really think that your readers aren't going to catch the thing you're trying to imply,
or you need them to know that the character feels exactly this way about it.
Yeah.
You
were going to say something, Sean?
No.
You sure? You look like you had something in the chamber.
You know, your cat had something to say. I saw them. They
yeah, I didn't know she was in here.
I saw her jump off the furniture in the background a moment ago. I was paying attention.
She'll be running soon.
The next piece is small gestures.
I think Hollis kind of touched on that.
Yeah.
With what she said, with just the reaction that you get from people's hands touching and communicating like what that does to the character, is a really good way to at least kind of like express and get the reader kind of feeling the same thing. I was probably what I was going to say was that we could just pass that one over because I don't think that there's anything I can add to it. And you,
I would say we just don't forget about them because a lot of people, I think sometimes people forget that, especially when we're in the very beginning processes and like, I don't know if they like me and blah, 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 that really exciting time that's so uncertain. All of those minute little things are what we latch onto like crazy, like hope. And yeah, that's like, so don't forget about the random eye contact that maybe one character is just like, I was just glancing in that direction and then I glanced over there and they're like, and the other one's like, eye contact.
Yeah, and to your point, I think
eye contact.
I think it serves the reader better if you don't over explain stuff, and that can mean your character's like interpretation of things. Like don't feel the need to over interpretate everything for everyone, because that confusion, that little mystery in there, like you said, that's the fun part. And it's like, well, did they mean it like this? I'm not sure. Are they touching my hand because they like me, or is it just like a coincidence kind of thing? Don't be afraid to just let that be. Let it exist. Let the reader feel that through proxy. Don't have the character know everything, know the intentions of the person they're interacting with 100%. Those kind of small gestures can change things, and it's okay if your readers don't get it. It's okay if they misinterpret, the signs, because
Yeah.
that's part of it. The character could easily misinterpret something, so let the reader kind of experience that itself.
Yeah. And don't forget that age, culture, gender all play a role. Personal experience, like me in my mid 40s, having somebody's hand randomly brush mine, I'll just be like, oh, they randomly brushed my hand. Like, I don't know, like, I'm just like, this is fine. But as a teenager, if that person was attractive to me, I would have been like, what did that mean? But
When's the wedding?
Yeah.
and culture means something too, because in a lot of cultures, like they're just not touchy-feely. I'm a very huggy, emotionally demonstrative person, but I'm also half Italian, so that's a thing. But like if I were Japanese, for example, like physical touch just isn't a normal, you don't hug people that you see, you just don't do that so much. And so then when somebody does touch your hand, it means a lot more to that person culturally than it would to me, an Italian girl that is like, yeah, people touch you all the time, it's fine, you move on. It's so I think that all has to be taken into account to and develop your characters too.
100%. Is there any like personal advice you think we could be given to kind of help people if you're gonna write? Like, how do you try to stick to something yourself that conveys a good romance, either like as a genre part or just like a little tidbit to a story? Because I know you mentioned, at least in one of our talks, your mom helped you like pull out more because you were writing a thing and she's like, I feel like there should be more to this because I'm really kind of interested in it, and you went ahead and added more. Like, what were your personal guidelines for that?
Honestly, I like to really put myself in the character's shoes, and I know that's very normal advice, but I don't think everybody fully goes through the exercise of doing it, right? And so I will think about it, but I will also say, okay, well, if Hollis was in this precise situation, I would react like this. But this character isn't me. So I'll take it a step further. I think about, okay, what would I do? That's first step. Does this character have the same inclinations that I do? Usually not, to be honest. And then I think, okay, who in my life do I know well who is more similar to this character? And then I will place my brother in that situation. My brother and I are really close. We're best friends as well as siblings, and we tease each other constantly. That's never stopped. Like, pranks abound. But like, I know him really well, and I know his reactions to things. And so I'll go, okay, he's more similar to this character, and he would do this. And then I'll kind of write it that. It even sometimes gets to the point, because I do have characters who become parents and things like that. I'll call my mom. I'll be like, hey, I don't have kids, but you do. If this happened, tell me how you feel. And then I would say, if the exercise of putting yourself in it doesn't work, call the friends and family. I call my friends, I call my family. I say, hey, if you were here, imagine you're on the edge of a volcano, and like, what would you be inclined to do? And the answers that I get are fantastic, because they are nothing I would think of. Like, people tell me I would straight up just freeze. I wouldn't know what to do. I would be frozen. And I am not, I am a, like, the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, whatever. I am a fight. That is my reaction in most cases. I am a take action fight girly, but many people are not that. And so it's really cool to just like take a little survey and you will become so much more inspired as well, because
I can get behind that 100%. Yeah. I like that.
So I think one thing I really kind of dislike when it comes to romance in writing is it seems like a lot of it is tailored around some like build up to a physical interaction. I think that is I feel like that's just a misjudging of what romance is. I feel like if you have two characters that like each other, it only makes sense that at some point they hook up. And if it fits in your story, I don't see a problem with it, but I also don't see the need to like make that a thing. I think romance can come in a lot of shapes and forms, and there's not a lot of time, especially in certain genres that are full of action. There's not a lot of time to really, hook up.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to kind of think of like things outside of the box. I think I mentioned it. I think we talked about it in the interview we had. Like one of my favorite things to mention in regards to a romantic style is P.S. I Love You. I think that's just a great romance story, where there's like no real connection being built up to in regards to the wife and her passed away husband because he's dead. But it's a celebration of the love that they had for each other, and him knowing that she's going to need all the help in the world to get over his passing. And he is just like 100% accepting of that, and he's just doing everything he can from the afterlife, so to speak, to help her move on and get on with life, because that's what he wants for her. And that is just a pure romantic gesture stretched out over an entire story. I'm not saying that's what needs to be in your stories, but those small gestures, those things that like, hey, we like each other, hey, we're trying to get to the same place in this journey, we're trying to enact the same end. Maybe there's a future for us after the story ends, but like right now, this is enough, and these things that we kind of do with each other in between is enough. And I think that's plenty to think about when you're in a certain genre.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Deadline.
Brian says that there can only be romance in a book if one of the characters is dead.
Such a sap. Yeah.
I'm an old romantic like that.
But that's an excellent point, though, because if you were to, like, in most, what I would say in the relationships I know in my personal real life that are quote unquote true love, you could take the physical aspects, the physical expressions of those love feelings out of their relationship, and they would still be just as strong. And I think that that's an important determination, because that's the difference between love and lust. And if you genuinely love someone, you still have all of those things like anticipation of needs, and just they're just paying attention to you. They can tell you're thirsty and they'll go get you a glass of water without you having to ask. Those sorts of things, because they are that in tuned to you, is so romantic. It's so romantic, and it's so simple. But yeah, the P.S. I Love You is another great example, because he wrote the letters. He knew her so well on that emotional level, on that ineffable love thing that everybody has written, sonnets and songs and everything about for millennia, and we still cannot properly describe it. That is it. But we can really describe lust well. Like, we've done that a lot over and over again.
Yeah,
So
it feels castle maidens and thieves.
yeah, but
Yeah.
and I'll also say you can like, and I've done this in my own subplots where the characters, like, it's understood, it's implied that they've started sleeping together, but like, I don't write that part. You just know that they are once they get to a certain point, because it's not important to the plot.
Yeah, they can just wake up and exit the same bedroom, and you're like, and they move on with the rest of their day. Like, we get it, they're together. We don't have to be in the bedroom with them.
And that's really what it's like when like your friends start relationships, right? Like, like it's just like, oh, all of a sudden they're sleeping over. Okay, I guess they're serious now. And
in the first chapter of my book, it takes most of the point of view of the oldest brother, but he knows that his sister, who also works at the auto shop with him, is like having a sort of secret relationship with one of the technicians, and so he calls his sister in the morning, accuses her of having him over. She denies it, and he says, whatever, you better let him know that I need him here 15 minutes early today, and I have the technician comes peeling into the parking lot and comes running up to the door. He's like, "What's going on?" He's like, and then realizes, "Oh, I shouldn't know that you needed me here early,"
Hmm.
and then refuses to come into the shop. And I never, their actual romance will blossom and everything over the next couple character arcs, but it was just for me just a fun way to kind of hint that there is the beginnings of a relationship there, without giving it any real focus. More
Mhm.
honestly, just a chance to get a yuck in the first chapter and show a little bit about those two characters.
Well, it does
And
it shows the relationship between the brother and the sister, and it shows that guy's intelligence level. I love things like that because it creates an opportunity to do multiple character developments in a very
yeah,
short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
and that, like, it's just the way that Bleeding the Divine didn't have any romance in it at all. I looked most of the relationships in that story were almost parental.
Mm-hmm.
For this is the way that they developed, um, and so I'm really just kind of playing around with it now with this and wondering how much I want to get into it. But I don't want to have any relationships in my stories that don't expose or help develop character traits and personalities, and help feed the wider story in some way. And that's kind of where I live with my opinion of romance. If it doesn't serve a function, I don't see any reason for me to put it in there.
Yeah. And you bring up an excellent point about other types of relationships, which are so fun to write about, especially if you have siblings in real life. You know very well about your dynamics and things. And you just like the best friend relationship. I'm such a sucker for a great best friend relationship. I fucking love it. It's so good. And just like parental relationships, your parents love you in an uncontrollable way and they will tear the world apart for you. Like they lose all rationale if they think you're in trouble, and like things like that. And I love to write about love in other contexts as well, because like I love my friends and family so deeply. And, it's like I will still tear the world apart for them. I just won't make out with them after. It's like, it's a different way too. But I think going through and not even thinking so much about expressing love romantically, but like, can this point or emotional thing be achieved through a sibling relationship, through a friendship, through something else, and would
Yeah,
that even also be more fulfilling in the storyline?
Yeah.
I agree 100%.
I think we've chewed this to the bone.
And then a little bit past.
Yeah,
Bring it back to the ribs again. I see it.
I am getting hungry. Well, Hollis, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about The Key and the other books that you have already put out into the world?
So The Key just came out, Rashawn Histories Volume 1, and it's available ebook, paperback, obviously, wherever books are sold. It is the first book in the Histories trilogy. In the original Rashawn series trilogy, it starts with To Save a World. I also, and then Con Carolinas in Charlotte, North Carolina, the May 28th.
Okay. I'm going to have to cut out the Jordan Con thing because that is this it won't air before that, but
Okay,
it
yeah.
will be up before May. Ryan, you want to talk a little bit about the Inkwell Society?
yeah. For those that don't know, Sean and I have created a Reddit community. It's called the Inkwell Society. We're inviting everyone on there. It's a good way to keep in touch with us, to directly communicate with us, see what the page is going on. But we invite everyone down there to post your own stuff. We want to create a community that's very lively and engaged and is able to communicate better with us. Like when we post stuff on Facebook, that's really kind of just a keeping things in touch with the internet, but we want to be able to actually have a communication with our audience. And so we invite authors, readers, anyone that enjoys storytelling, either writing it or just ingesting it, to become a part of the Inkwell Society there on Reddit. And we also have a Telltale page there too. So if you guys just want to sit down for a whole bunch of writing prompts and see what you can go, check out Hollis's. She gave us a Telltale. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. That'll be up, I believe. So Sean, quick question.
Okay.
How do we end these again?
Bodaciously.